Watch how Keir Starmer faces one of the most damaging weeks of his premiership as pressure mounts from every direction. Critics accuse him of U-turns, policy failures, and losing control of Labour itself. With talk of an Andy Burnham leadership challenge growing louder, the stakes have never been higher. Before we continue, hit like and subscribe to Britain Daily for more explosive political coverage. Let's watch this explosive clip.
Late last night, Mr. Speaker, the government snuck out an announcement that it was removing sanctions on Russian oil. So can the Prime Minister explain why oil from Russia is acceptable, but oil from Aberdeen is not?
Well, Mr. Speaker, let me address the sanctions head on, because we have been united across this House on these issues since the beginning of the conflict. What we announced yesterday was a strong new package of new sanctions, going well beyond existing sanctions. So it's a new package. This includes new bans on maritime services on LNG and new bans on refined oil products from Russia. We also issued 2 targeted short-term licences to phase the new sanctions in and to protect UK consumers. Mr. Speaker, that is standard practice.
Mr. Speaker, he doesn't know what he is talking about. This level of processology is not going to get him out of these difficult answers, okay? Let me tell him what is going on. Labour are giving money to Russia, Reform are taking money from Russia. There's only one party that is standing up to Russia, and that is the Conservative Party. He should be ashamed. I cannot believe that this Prime Minister, even when he has nothing to lose, continues to defend banning new British oil and gas licences. In April, Britain saw the single biggest drop in employment ever since the pandemic. That's under them. 210,000 people have lost their jobs in the last year. What he is doing is going to cost thousands more people their jobs, especially in cities like Aberdeen, which rely on oil and gas. So can he tell us, why is he doing everything to save his job and doing nothing to save other people's jobs?
Mr. Speaker, there is drilling in the North Sea, and on her, no, she said there's no drilling in the North Sea. She's going to have to refer herself to the Privileges Committee, Mr. Speaker.
He is so deep in the bunker, Mr. Speaker. He's importing sanctioned Russian oil. He's nationalising steel. He's imposing price controls in the supermarket. It's like the Soviets won. This country needs a government that has got its act together, Mr. Speaker. Instead, what we have is a Prime Minister hanging by a thread, fake support from his backbenchers, too scared to take difficult decisions, losing his moral compass by backsliding on Ukraine. Yes, he is.
Mr. Speaker, the results of soft-touch liberalism are visible in towns and cities up and down the country, yet the changes the Justice Secretary is announcing today risk amounting to more of the same. This is a big call, and if youth crime goes up as a result, it will be on this government.
Where are we less than 2 years later?
You're in a different party.
We're here. We're here. Where are we? We're here.
You used to be there.
We're here. Well, the honourable member says, why did I change party? Well, I'll tell you why I changed party. I'll tell you why I changed party. Because millions of people across this country look upon the performance of the last government as this one, and they say these are wasted years. That our country needs real change, and yet we see nothing for it. This government, let's be honest with ourselves, lies in ashes. It's failed. An air of unreality hangs over this debate. Members queue up to speak as if this is a normal King's speech. The Prime Minister summoned the King, the crown, the golden carriages, the fanfares of the trumpets. For what? To paper over the cracks of his failing government. This, as we all know, is a lame duck government presided over by a lame duck Prime Minister. Where is the Prime Minister? He's in his bunker. Where's most of the cabinet? They're plotting. I'm surprised that so many members are here. Maybe they're filling in the time before the change of government.
They point to domestic uncertainty, possibly weighing down on consumer spending and investment decisions. I wonder what they could possibly be referring to, Mr. Speaker, when they talk about domestic uncertainty. And as to our record, I need to remind him that on the day of the general election, We had inflation bang on target at 2%. It's now 50% more than that. We had the fastest growth in the G7. We had employment at near record levels. We had near record low levels of unemployment. And we had 13 consecutive months of real wage growth. This party promised stability. They also, and please try not to laugh too loudly, said that they would create the most pro-business government in the history of our country. None of that, Mr. Speaker, none of that has come to pass. In fact, it's not just the Prime Minister that is the problem. Whoever goes on to lead the Labour Party, if this Prime Minister is replaced, will not do any better. And the reason is this, that the party opposite had no plan as to how to improve our economy. The record of this government is appalling, not just on growth. Unemployment. I notice the right honourable gentleman did not mention unemployment once. And he certainly didn't mention youth unemployment, because the record is appalling. The highest unemployment in 5 years under this government. Youth unemployment nudging up towards 20%. Under the last Labour government, I will in a moment, under the last Labour government, Mr. Speaker, youth unemployment increased by over 40%. Under the last Conservative government, it reduced by over 40%.
The House gave the government a very clear instruction that the only documents that could be redacted were those which might prejudice UK national security or international relations, and all of those documents were to be referred to the ISC. So for my incredibly respected and right honourable friend to say that the government has applied redactions to the documents sent to the ISC beyond the scope agreed by the House, and has also withheld documents entirely from the ISC, is an extremely serious matter that completely undermines what this House agreed. There may be legitimate reasons the government doesn't want to place certain things in the public domain, but if the humble address motion doesn't allow for redaction on those grounds, the government can't just unilaterally decide to ignore the will of this House. And sadly, this pattern of backsliding fits a pattern of behaviour. The Prime Minister's Chief of Staff had to resign over the Mandelson scandal, but now he's apparently back, advising the Prime Minister already. We forced the government to hold an inquiry into the grooming gangs, then they sabotaged it and they dragged their feet for a whole year. We said it needs to be harder to get ILR, Home Secretary said she'd do it, Labour backbenchers didn't like it, and so now it's not in the King's Speech. Again and again, as soon as attention moves elsewhere, they start backsliding. So we now expect the government to discuss its approach to the humble address constructively and would welcome such discussions. So I ask the Minister, now that the government's had reviewed all the documents, the IC has reviewed the documents, when is the government going to release all the rest of the Mandelson files? The Minister says after Whitsun. When after Whitsun? Will the government return to the House to ask permission for the redactions that they clearly wish to make, which go beyond the scope of the humble address? And would the Minister brief opposition members on Privy Council terms about these broader redactions that the government clearly wishes to make? Mr. Speaker, members opposite voted for a cover-up when they voted against referring the Prime Minister to the Privilege Committee over this. They don't like it, but it's true. This House and the people of this country deserve better than yet another cover-up.
He promised in the election that he would cut everybody's energy bills by £300. And what's he delivered? Energy bills up by £200 thanks to his plans. He said he would protect pensioners. But weeks into office, he axed the winter fuel payment, a policy that many of them have cited as their worst political decision in power. He promised that Great British Energy would lead to, and I quote, a mind-blowing reduction in bills. And yet 2 years in, it hasn't taken a penny off household bills, but it has given a six-figure salary to one of his mates. And now we learn that Great British Energy has been putting solar panels made by Chinese slave labour on British primary schools, something he promised this House he would not do. We need an electricity system which keeps the lights on for British households and industry, but his plan will leave us at the mercy of foreign imports. This isn't independence. It doesn't even come close. It's an energy dependence bill that would leave us weaker, poorer, and more reliant on foreign regimes. Now let's talk about electricity. I'll just make a bit of progress. A key part of the Secretary of State's plan is to make us more reliant on electricity imports. He doesn't like to talk about it, but at the height of winter, when we need it most, we'll be importing twice as much electricity by 2030 as we did when they came into office.
What a remarkable and turbulent moment in British politics. Tonight's debate exposed just how much pressure is building around Keir Starmer. From accusations over Russian oil sanctions to concerns about rising unemployment, Labour's leadership found itself under sustained attack from all sides. But perhaps the most significant development isn't what happened at the dispatch box, it's what may be happening behind the scenes. For millions of ordinary Britons, these arguments are about far more than Westminster theatre. They're about jobs, energy bills, economic security, and confidence in the country's future. Families who are already struggling with the cost of living want answers. Workers worried about their livelihoods want certainty. And voters who were promised change are increasingly asking whether those promises are being delivered. The growing speculation surrounding Andy Burnham only adds another layer of uncertainty. Whenever a governing party begins talking about potential successors, questions inevitably emerge about the authority of the current leader. Whether those rumours amount to anything remains to be seen, but the political pressure on Starmer is clearly intensifying. The real question now is whether Labour can regain control of the narrative before these challenges become even more difficult to contain. Political fortunes can change quickly, but public trust is much harder to rebuild once it's lost. What do you think? Is Keir Starmer still the right person to lead Labour, or is the pressure becoming too much to withstand? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this coverage, don't forget to like this video, share your thoughts, and subscribe to Britain Daily for more explosive debates, PMQs clashes, and the biggest stories shaping British politics.